Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of the Perception Diet, and today I'm going to talk about, so you're doing all your spiritual practices, you're doing your meditation, you're doing your thought work, you're questioning your thoughts, you're following your fear all the way through to the end, you're doing all this stuff, right? And it's not working, okay? So this video is for everyone out there who feels like you're really doing your work, like you're really committing to all of these practices, you're really doing the thought work, you're really doing the meditation, you're really doing all this stuff, and you actually feel either like it's just not working, like you feel equally as crazy as you've always felt, or you feel like it might be making things worse, right? Like maybe you feel like now you're starting to bring awareness to these things, you're starting to question your thoughts, and not only is it not working, like do you still think these thoughts or whatever, but now you're like hyper aware of all of these thoughts, and they're just like really loud and in your ears all the time, and you're noticing them even more than before. And like I say, you feel crazier than ever. You feel worse than you ever did before. And it's like, what the heck? Why isn't this working? Okay. So the first thing that I kind of want to say about this is my kind of little personal anecdote. Is when I first got into all of this stuff, when I was first starting my actual recovery from anorexia, and I really started to just start to become aware of my thoughts and become aware of my thought patterns and starting to become aware of my beliefs and starting to become aware of all this stuff. It was like, yeah, for the first 6 months, when I like seriously was meditating and seriously doing all these things, I totally felt crazier than I felt like I was getting better, okay? Because it's almost kind of like physical detox or physical healing, right? In the beginning, when you've got all this stuff that's been going on for so long, like say you've been eating like McDonald's every day for 50 years, and you first start to just, shift from that McDonald's diet to like say eating more fruits and vegetables or whatever, right? That is going to be the most uncomfortable time you're ever going to experience, okay? Because when you're eating the McDonald's and you're just staying consistently doing that, and you're, just kind of following that unhealthy diet and that's just your lifestyle, there are coping mechanisms that go along with that make it so that, the McDonald's starts to become a kind of drug. So it's the poison and the drug at the same time. You see what I'm saying? So the junk food starts to become something that when you eat it, it actually suppresses symptoms, right? Because when the body starts to detox or starts to heal, starts to try and purge out the toxins that are built up in your system from years and years of junk food abuse, it's going to make you feel sick at first, right? Because all of these things get stirred up into the bloodstream, and they're poisonous and they're toxic, and so they make you feel ill, right? So then when you eat junk food, you stop that process, you push everything back into your cells, out of your bloodstream and back into your cells, and it makes the symptoms go down, okay? So you see now, it's the idea that, right, like when you've gotten yourself to this kind of unhealthy state where your cells are kind of almost saturated with toxin from years and years of dietary abuse, like just feeding your body things that it shouldn't be fed, the continual feeding of those foods is actually going to feel better than the stopping of eating those foods, because they suppress the detox, right? So you have become used to feeling the level of ill health that you're going to feel eating a diet like that, right? You're accustomed to that. So to the having the headaches and having the aches and the pains or whatever, that's just normal to you, right? So you're kind of used to it. So then when you start to detox and that nausea or whatever that comes up, you're not used to that. So that feels worse than what you're experiencing because you're used to what you're experiencing, eating the junk food. So you want to continue to eat the junk food because it suppresses anything changing. Okay, so that kind of makes sense, I think, to all of us, right? That when you've gotten yourself to this place where your body is so overloaded and you've eaten junk food for your entire life, you're used to the level of not feeling good that you're in, right? And any kind of detox healing symptoms that might come up are going to be extra uncomfortable, and you're going to want to shut those down by eating more junk food because it's going to make you feel better in the moment, right? Because you're used to the level of crap you feel normally, right? So that feels better than the detox reaction that's going to happen because you're not used to that, and it's going to be more intense, okay? It's the exact same thing when we start to heal our minds, okay? In the beginning, it's like the unawareness and the continuing to do what you're doing and the continuing in your self-sabotaging behavior and the continuing in your denial of reality and the continuing in your, like the numbing out and not being aware of what's going on, not practicing questioning your thoughts, is going to feel better in the moment than starting to actually do this kind of work and do this kind of digging and do these kind of practices, because that's when all of your stuff is going to come up, right? It's going to come up to come out, it's going to come up to be healed, but it's going to be very uncomfortable, right? Because again, you're used to the life that you have in the denial, right? Or in the unawareness, in the continuing on of your negative thought patterns, that's a homeostasis. And we have to remember that as humans, we crave safety and security a lot of the time when we're not in our most expanded state, right? Because safety and security still feels better than I'm going to bring all this stuff to the surface so that I can question everything and have an existential crisis and then find something new, right? So staying in your negative thought patterns and all these things that you might have in the beginning might feel better than starting to transition out of it, right? Because again, you're used to that. That's homeostasis. That's comfortable, that's familiar, you know how to handle that. You know how to be an anxious person. You know how to be someone who has continual negative thoughts. You know how to be someone with an eating disorder. You know how to be someone who is depressive, right? You know how to be someone who's negative, critical, judgmental. So even though it might not be serving you, even though it might not be ultimately healthy, it may not be ultimately feeling good, it still feels better than starting to move towards something different, because this something different is unfamiliar. And it brings to light just how self-sabotaging these behaviors are, right? So when you're staying in your little bubble of not really changing it and not really looking at it and not really even, taking a full stock of how it's affecting you, that's going to feel better and feel safer and feel less painful and they'll feel less crazy making than when you first start to look at this stuff. So it's the same kind of thing as like, if you have a jar of dirt and water, right? And all the dirt's just settled at the bottom, that's gonna look better than when you shake up the jar and all the dirt, combines with the water and it looks like the whole jar is dirty, right? What we want is to filter the water so that the water is clean and there's no more sediment in there. But in order for us to do that, we kind of have to shake it up, right? So that it's not all stuck on the bottom, so we can pour it out, filter it, and then just put the water back in the jar, clean the jar. Because if we didn't shake it up, right, if all that sediment just stayed on the bottom when we pour the water off, that sediment is still in the jar, so we put the water back in the jar, and all of a sudden, it's still dirty. You see what I'm saying? So this is why when you first start this work, when you first start to do your meditation, when you first start to do your awareness practices, when you first start to do any kind of like self-awareness work, when you first start on your healing journey, the fact of the matter is it's most likely going to feel like you're moving backwards. It's going to make you feel worse before it's going to make you feel better. And that's again because that's what happens when things come up, right? So I just wanted to make this video mostly to encourage you that if you're on this path and you're feeling like what I'm describing here, like things feel like they're just getting worse and you feel like your thoughts are crazier than they've ever been, or like your need to do your self-sabotaging behaviors are even louder, or like I say, like these voices in your head are even worse, and you feel like things are coming up more than they are going away, right? Like the negative thoughts are getting stronger, the negative impulses are getting stronger, all this stuff is getting stronger, everything feels so much worse, not better. What the hell is going on? It's that I'm saying is that it's like a healing crisis, right? It's like your mind and your spirit have gotten the signal that healing is happening, that detoxification can happen now, that mental and emotional detoxification can happen. And so it's pushing all of this stuff into your awareness so that you can start to deal with it. Just like when you start to eat healthy food, basically what your body says is, okay, good, we finally have the tools to take these toxins that are stored in the periphery, right, that are stored in your cells away from the bloodstream. We have the capacity to get these actually out of the body. So we're going to flood them into the bloodstream. It's going to make you feel sick. They're going to go through your liver, and then they're going to be excreted. That's what we want, right? But at first, right, that moving of the stuff from the periphery of your cells into your bloodstream, into your contact with your organs, it's going to make you feel sick, right? But it has to happen in order for those toxins to be removed. You see? And it's the exact same thing with your healing journey, mentally and emotionally. At first, it's going to make you feel worse because these things are coming up, right? Where before you were using your self-sabotaging behaviors, you were using everything that you were using to suppress the symptoms, right, of the negative thoughts, the negative beliefs, the negative stuff, right? They were all being suppressed, just like the food becomes the drug, the cure and the poison at the same time. All of your negative behaviors and all your negative thoughts were the cure and the poison at the same time. It actually made you feel better to feed into the anorexic thinking, right? Or the eating disorder behavior thinking, because in a sense that suppressed what was really going on. That suppressed all the other thoughts and beliefs and negative thoughts and negative beliefs you have about yourself, right? It's a distraction, right? Going and watching TV and eating a carton of ice cream distracted you, suppressed sadness, anger, fear, anxiety. You see what I'm saying? So when we start to do these practices, we start to become aware, we start to bring these things into the light, it's going to feel overwhelming. It's going to feel like, holy crap, I have all this stuff and everything feels worse and everything feels louder and everything feels crazier because it's coming to the surface to be healed, right? So this is why, be gentle on yourself. Know that the process is going to be the process. You're not doing it wrong if you feel extra crazy. It's not working if things are coming to the surface, right? And then the second thing is why I say the most important thing that you can do is simply love yourself, right? Just be nice to yourself. Be gentle on yourself when these things are coming up. Don't beat yourself up. Don't tell yourself you're doing something wrong. Don't try and find all these other things to try and make the stuff go away, because the suppression is what causes it to stay inside of you to begin with, right? It's what's causing the pain to begin with, right? So we might think that eating the healthy food is the thing that's making us feel sick. But that's not true. It's because, right, you had toxins stored inside your body that were making you feel sick. That's why you started to want to heal in the first place, right? You had symptoms. You were used to those symptoms. They weren't as bad as the detox symptoms because you're used to them. But the thing is, the healthy food is not causing the detox symptoms that make you feel sick. Yeah? The stored toxins that are being stirred up and flooded into your bloodstream is what's causing that. You see? And the healthy food is just what's facilitating that detox, which over time, if you keep going with the healthy food, eventually your body will clean out and then you will start to feel amazing, right? You know that. But there's the period in between where the healthy food supports the body in doing what it wants to do, which is getting rid of all those toxins because it wants to be vitally healthy, right? And that is going to cause sickness. You're gonna feel it. It's gonna go through your bloodstream. It's not gonna feel good. And it's the exact same thing with your mental and emotional work, right? You might feel like this meditation and these thought works and all this stuff is making me feel worse, but it's not making you feel worse, right? It's the thing that's finally bringing to the surface all the things that are making you feel shitty, right? That you haven't been looking at, that you've been using self-sabotaging behavior to suppress, that you've been using, all of these tools that you have in your toolbox as your poison and your medicine, right? So you start to take the poison away, you're also taking away the medicine in between. You see what I'm saying? Nothing is left there to suppress it, so it all comes up, all right? So you just be gentle with yourself. You know that this is going to happen. you understand that things are going to feel more intense before they start to feel better. All you have to do is ride it out, okay? Just keep on with the practices. Just keep doing what you're doing. So kind of in a sense what I'm saying is if it makes things start to feel worse, that's a sign that you're doing it right? Just like if you start to eat a healthy diet and you feel those detox symptoms, that's a sign that you should keep going because that means it's working. It's the same thing here, all right? So reach out for support, get someone to talk to, find a coach, find someone that you know that you can trust, journal, walk, take baths, be super, super gentle to yourself, be super, super nice to yourself, have less expectations of yourself, right? If you can reduce the responsibilities you have in your life, do that. Like, you see what I'm saying? And if you can't do that, then you can pull away a little bit on your spiritual practices and make, like, do it at a rate that works for you. Just like you don't have to go full-fledged, like, vegan overnight and have all these detox symptoms and make it like the worst thing ever. You don't have to do that, right? You can slowly make little changes so that the detox happens slowly. Same thing with your spiritual practices. If it's overwhelming and it's too much and it brings too much to the surface and you need to suppress, do that. Just do a little bit, right? Pull back a little. There's no shame in that. Know yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle on yourself. There's no race, okay? So if all this is like super overwhelming and you really feel like you can't handle it, back off. Do 10 minutes of meditation instead of 20, right? Allow yourself to continue doing some things that you know are self-sabotaging with no judgment, right? And just work on other areas that you feel ready to work on. This is the thing. Be nice to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't force things. Don't push it. Don't rush it. If you feel like you can handle it, do that, right? If you're ready, you're ready. But if you're not, pull back. There's no shame in that. And there should be no shame and no judgment, okay? So that's why sometimes it feels like it's not working or it feels like it's making it worse, right? This is why sometimes meditation and all of these spiritual practices make you feel crazier before they make you feel better, because they're allowing all of the suppressed stuff to come to the surface to be healed, right? So it's going to make you feel worse at first. So moderate or be nice to yourself, get through it, and on the other side, there's amazing shit, okay? So that's why I said, like, the first 6 months of meditation was absolute pain and excruciation for me, okay? Like, it was not fun. And I felt crazier, and I questioned it all the time, and I doubted it, and I didn't think that I was really, maybe I wasn't doing the right thing, and all this stuff was happening, right? But as I kept going on the other side, these things start to clean out and clear up and clean out and clear up, and I started to get a view of my negative beliefs, and all of a sudden I could shift them, and then it starts feeling amazing, okay? And now it's just like, amazing begets amazing begets amazing begets amazing, right? It's feeding off itself, and I'm going forward in that way. But there was that period of time in the beginning where everything felt worse. And I just want to say that that's normal. And that's okay. So if that's what you're going through, don't get scared. It's all right. Just keep going. Pull back a little if you need to, whatever. Be nice to yourself. Talk to somebody. But it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Okay? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I love hearing from you. Find me on Facebook, Perception Trainers, Instagram, Alex_Perception Trainers. Come join us on Patreon, that'd be great. Like, subscribe, follow, share, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah.